Welcome back for another episode of Penny's Hot Rod and Custom. Today I picked for a new project is a half-horse Stover Duro. It's a tiny little engine. It's not very big. It's almost the size of my little model I made back there. That's a third horse Galloway. But this one's an actual. It was built back, I believe, and started somewhere in 1916, somewhere around there. I believe they were only made for a couple years. There were less than 1,200 of these ever made, so they are considered a rare engine. I don't know a heck of a lot what this engine was ever teamed with. You could get these engines with a pump hooked up to them, or I've heard stories that these engines ran sewing machines, but I don't know if I ever find that out. But I'm quite happy to able to own one. I think my brother has one, but he's missing a couple pieces, and we were just going to duplicate the pieces what I need for his, so then we'll have another complete one. But this one, I was pretty lucky to get this at, I think it was a moving sale. We knew the gentleman that was having the sale. He collected old engines and steam engines and tractors, and he had quite a bit of collection, so he was selling some stuff he was downgrading, moving. Didn't have the room, so this was one of the first things I saw going to his place at the sale, and the price was right. I grabbed it. I didn't even think about it. It was mine. But I didn't have one myself, so. But looks pretty nice shape. I can't argue it. It's pretty nice. And my brother and my dad knew about this engine. Oh, back about 20-some years ago, they saw this engine at the guy's place before. So, but they always thought it was a nice engine. But we were pretty lucky to own it now, and hopefully I can find someone down the road to get it off me. So. Someday these things will all be for sale. I can't live forever. So I'm trying to get many as I can get done as possible. But, okay. So this one, it's got a double flywheel, got a carburetor. Here's your fuel tank down here. Here's your governor weight. You can see this would be your timing system. There'll be a cam lobe back there. Here's your exhaust valve, your intake, your spark plug, and this is the coil. I haven't found a lot of information about these engines, but from what I found, the early model were battery and coil. And then later on, they came with either a rotary mag to drive off this gear, or there was a mag bracket that went on here to run an EK mag. But this one, I believe it came with is just a battery and coil setup. So I'm gonna tend to believe that this is the original paint. Just from the way the grease and everything, it looks right. I could be wrong, but I'm going to go with it. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to try to preserve it, just clean the dirt off of it and leave it as the original hardware. The skid, same. I'm just going to clean it up. It's going to stay the same way. And I'm just going to make a little axle, put two wheels back here, because we got one on both sides. That way we can move it around easily. And I use that as my handle. That's the way I got it, and I believe that's factory. So this is going to be our next project. Like I said, Ryan and I, we did play with this, and we kind of had it run just a little bit, but it was pretty poor. It kept picking up old gunk, and it was holding the valves open, and it's, I'll take it apart, and we'll clean it and do it right that way. We're not playing with it. But somehow, it's sitting in a warm garage, it got stuck. It's seized, but so it shouldn't be seized too bad. Because this was less than a year and a half, 2 years ago. So this is going to be our next project we're going to do. I figured it was easy. I hate being outside. It's like minus 30 or minus 15 in the States. It's just cold. I like my nice warm stove. So I just quit rambling. I'll quit rambling on, and we'll start tearing this guy apart. I'm gonna probably say it's gonna need new valve. Probably new bearings or whatever in here. There is a little bit of place and play. I don't like that. I'll tighten that up a bit. Whatever needs to be changed. The only thing I have changed, I had to put a newer spring on. Or somehow I like to get that rusty, or find a rusty spring or something, just kind of so it all matches. Because the original one broke. But, well, I guess I'll go set the camera up, and then we'll start working on this guy. And before, when you start pulling these things all apart, make sure you take good pictures. That way you can put it back together, and the same way when you took it apart. Because I have a habit of saying, oh yeah, I'll remember how it goes back together. Yeah, right. I'll be sitting there for half a day trying to figure out how it went back together. So just a little note, just easy just to take pictures and stuff. So I taken a couple screws and bolts apart already, and we should be able to pull off the carb and the intake. Oh, and there is a foot valve under this. I know there's gas. Like I said, we tried to get this thing running a couple years ago. So, but there should be a needle and check ball in there. We'll go through that. I don't know if I'm gonna knock this thing all apart, but time will tell. But oh, see the rust coming out of that valve? That's what I mean. It was just hanging up on us, and really, that valve, hard to say. If I have to make a new one, we'll have to do some measurement to see how worn the valve shaft is, the stems. Hopefully it's not, the valve guide's not too worn, but the valve would live for another day. But anyway, we got that part ripped apart, and I got myself a container to throw all my bolts and nuts in. I have the next piece, maybe we'll pull off this back cover. Yeah, it looks like it's some sort of a bruiser. I'm not even sure. This is the first time I've ever really worked on one of these engines. I've always done, worked on bigger engines, so. But I'll crack some more bolts, and we'll see what we're getting into. I pulled the 3 little bolts out. I'm going to say that's some sort of a breezer for the crankcase. Because there's, yeah, because there'll probably be a little diaphragm in there. But we'll go through that after, but that's what it's looking like in there. Oh, I don't know if you guys can really see in there. Don't see no metal shavings or anything, so everything's looking pretty good there so far. Like I say, this is the first time I've ever worked on one of these little ones. I guess maybe the next part we'll pull off the looks like a gear cover, and yeah, we'll pull this off. and something else. And then a lot of these bolts I'm pulling off, I'm tending to believe that is the original paint because the bolts have never been touched with. But here I've got taken off the gear fender off. Pretty nice shape. Someone has played with the gear a bit because they've stuck a finishing nail. I just cut the nail out, so. But we'll put a cotter pin back in there. This is also a little, I'm not too worried about timing, I'll figure it out again. But you can, that's how your timing, it rubbed that little high spot there. And then there's your contact right here. I don't know if you guys are seeing that, but that's your contact, and that's what trips your coil, and then that's what makes the spark. Sends the signal to the spark plug, but that's your part of your timing mechanism right there. So it will. I don't know if that shaft is one, but we'll have to see what it's all looks like. So that's another piece taken out. We'll have to see what the next part we're going to take off. But at least one thing about this engine, it's not heavy. Okay, I've taken some parts off. I've taken this pin out that holds the part of the governor, but I can't get it out. Either way, I still can't get it out. So I'll leave that. I'm just going to put the pin back in a bit, but I'll leave that. I'll put it back in because you can't be rough with these guys because you can break parts very quick, and you can't run to Walmart and get the parts. So, and I just take your time. And unloosen this, unloosened it, and this is part of your timing. This is like the fine tuning. It's almost like a breaker point in a way, or it's a white spark basically, and that's what touches your cam gear and makes contact. We'll leave that there. Like I said, I'm just gonna clean things up. If there's a shaft left one, we'll just make a new shaft and put a new shaft on. I can't get that gear out yet, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go weld onto that key and pull the keyway out, and hopefully I can get the flywheel off. If it looks like I need to pull the flywheels off to pull the crankshaft out. So alright, after about an hour I was fighting, and that gib key, there wasn't much left of a head on it for me to get a gib puller in there to pull that key out. So what I did, I just welded up my little slide hammer, and it took me a couple attempts doing it, and I finally got it pulled out. Sorry about that. Didn't want the engine to fall, but it finally came. It was a stubborn key. And I had to be careful if I didn't want to break my governor or break any of my weights. I was lucky enough to use my little contraption. I just used, and I was able to tap it out. And this gib key came out not bad. But that side was, it was fighting with me. But I won. I just didn't want to break anything. So now you can see once I got my gib key out, I can move the flywheel off. I gotta be careful. I'm gonna put my bolt back in here, so I don't want the engine falling. And the biggest critical thing was I was trying not to damage, not yet, get that governor out. Because I think that's just made out of pot metal. I'm pretty sure, I'm not too sure, but, and you just can't go running around finding parts for these things. But what I'll do is I'll pull that part off and pull the flywheels off and keep tearing this guy down. I forgot to tell you guys up in the beginning before I pull this apart. This is an air-cooled engine. There's no hopper here. There's no coolant to keep this engine cool or anything. All it is, it's like an old motorcycle, an old Harley or an Indian bike. The heat transfers off of these fins, and then this is your fan here on both flywheels. That's how this one works, and that's what keeps the engine cool. But I apologize, I forgot to say that in the beginning, but there is no coolant that to keep this engine cool. It's what's called an air-cooled engine. And then but that's all factory. So, as you can see, I got the 2 flywheels off. There's the governor weights. Everything seems to be pretty good. I wouldn't say it's that bad a shape. Might just get away with just using, well, maybe that, I don't know, we'll see. I might just leave it the way it is. Just give it a good clean up. You can see the governor fingers definitely had a little bit of wear. But, it's an old engine, expected to have wear. That's where the governor rides up again. That seems to be good shape. The gears seem to be, they'll live for another day. I can see someone has had this engine apart because they had a shim in behind one of the keys. Now to hold the flywheel on. I may put different keys in, gib keys in when I put it back together. And now I've already taken the bolt out of the one plate. You can see it just has a bronze bushing in there. And we'll measure that up. I'm pretty sure there's a little bit of wear, so we'll probably put new bronze bushings in that. I know there was a bit of wear in that. You can see the connecting rod and the crankshaft. So I guess the next thing I'll do is I can't take this side off, but oh, I see. You just gotta undo that bolt, and that'll undo the connecting rod, and I can take this bolt out and take the whole top off. So I'll get that apart and continue ripping this apart. Now you can see I pulled the cylinder head off of it. There's that's the inside of the crankcase, and there's supposed to be a little bit of oil. There's your screw back here, your oil level. That way oil sits in here in the crankcase, and well, this is upside down, and this throws the oil around, splashes it in your piston inside there, in the wrist pins, and lubricates the bearing here. All this is just one bolt. If you can put shims in here too, like I'll shim this all up. And that's just a little piece of babbitt on both sides. And that's how this guy held in. And you can, I'll do that. And you can see where the finger is. That's what catches the oil and throws it around. From what I see, this thing, I'm hoping it's not stuck too bad. Cause this thing, we had this thing kind of popping and farting, but it was just a dry seize. I just put some liquid wrench penetrating down there, see if I can break it loose. So hopefully it shouldn't be too much to break it loose. But I guess that's the next thing, try to get that unstuck, and then start making some new bushings. Well, clean everything up, do some miking, see how things are. Maybe, yeah, I think we'll probably make new bushing. Don't know about the babbitt. We'll have to do some measurements. Like, it doesn't look bad shape actually, but clean the crank up. Just a tiny little crank. It's not hard really. If I had to make one, it is not that difficult. But I guess enough babbling. I'll see and find something and see if we can push this piston down. I gotta be so careful because I don't want to bust any of the fins on this. I like this engine. It's pretty. I'm going to say it's pretty close to original of everything. So I've been tapping, and I don't want to break anything. That's my biggest thing. And I've been tapping and tapping. Nothing breaking free, breaking loose. So I think what I'm going to try, I think I can get enough of a sheet to put the two valves back in. Like this is off, and I'll put the intake back in. And I'm going to, this is for the spark plug, I'm going to make up an adapter and put a grease fitting in here. And I'm going to pack this full of grease and see if I can use the hydraulic grease pressure from the grease gun and push the piston out. I have never done this on a headless engine yet. So this is going to be the first time ever doing this. So, but first you have to do is block off both intake and exhaust valves. So I can put the intake and exhaust valve back in. I'll make sure they're tight, and I'll find see if I can find an old spark plug or something, and I'll adapt a grease fitting on it, and we'll see if we can press that piston out. Like I said, I've never done this before, but we're going to learn. Well, I've soaked it a little bit, the bottom of the spark plug, and the bottom of the piston. I've been tapping it. Nah, it's not going to move. So I guess I'm going to end the video here, and I think what we're going to try with I'll start with the next video. We're going to use grease to push this piston out, and I have never done this, so it can be something new. But thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.